You're considered a veteran in the comics industry.
Because I'm old.
No, not because you're old. What sorts of things do you think are changing and what things are staying the same in the industry?
Digital. We're having a lot of digital comics, which are great. And I think you can read, outside of my Mighty Avengers stuff, where you can read one issue, you can read pretty much everything I've done for Marvel since 2004 is somewhere online through legal channels at Marvel.com, where they have a really neat new interface for their,
It's really cool.
It's really cool. So that's something new. And we're getting like the motion comics and comics to your iPhone and all kinds of new ways to get you this medium. You're also getting Marvel Studios. So Marvel's in control of the movies that Marvel's putting out. And I think we've done pretty well so far with Iron Man 1 and Incredible Hulk. So you look at those and you go, those are good superhero movies. Yeah, thank God the geeks are in charge for once, you know? You don't suddenly go like, nipples on a bat suit? What the hell? No, it's all very, you know. Because I think a lot of people, when they approach comics, they approach them like everything's still the Adam West Batman. Biff! Pow! Yeah! It's like one of the most annoying things working in the comic industry is when you read, whenever the media, like the New York Times or Washington Post or Newsweek or Times, someone writes about comics, because they always start, the opening line of every article is, Biff, bam, pow. Comics sure have come a long way. Shut up! Do you have these articles on Mad Libs? Do you just plug in the name of the new comic book? Ooh, you make me so mad.
Yeah.
On some level, though, there's some stuff that's changed in comics that, not that I'm not crazy about, what I'm not crazy about is the way some people draw attention to it. Like, I've heard people say that comics have matured. Comics have matured, and there aren't any room for comics anymore for caption boxes and thought balloons because it's sophisticated storytelling. You know, so many times when I hear someone make that kind of comment, I just want to tell them to very politely bite me. that the caption box and the thought balloon, they're tools in our tool belt as storytellers. That comics are not movies.
That's true.
Yeah, you're not buying 1/6 of a movie when you're buying a comic. You're buying one full unit of entertainment that's a comic book. And if someone wants to use caption boxes and thought balloons, if someone wants to have flashbacks, the stories that happened, little corner boxes, see Fantastic Four, issue 272. That's helpful.
It is.
Yeah, you can look past it. It's not like it's actually part of the furniture in the scene. It's not like Emma Frost is going to sit on it. You know, no, it's a helpful little caption for you. Sometimes there's a feeling with some of the new guard that continuity is bad, that you shouldn't refer to old stories, and that every comic should be somebody's first, and he should go in all new ways. And I agree that every comic could be somebody's first, but I don't see any reason why you can't reference old continuity if you use it to advance your story forward. And even if you're telling a new story, I think your story shouldn't invalidate the continuity of before.
Sounds to me.
We could have arguments about Spider-Man stuff, because I can already hear Spider-Man fans grinding their teeth going, but, and we can talk about that later.
All right. Let's see. How much of your initial ideas end up in the story? So, like, what process do you go through between creation and finally coming with the final plot?
It's weird, because unless you're a writer-artist, unless you're someone like Alan Davis, who has the idea, it's in their head, and they draw it on the page, and they ink it, and there you go. Part of the fun of comics is it is a team effort, and everybody's going to add something to that process. And a lot of times what you're doing is you're not trying to come up with the fully formed idea. You're trying to come up with a playground that everyone's going to get to play in and have fun with. Sometimes when I write a story, I purposely leave some things loose to allow my artist to have fun and get to stage it the way they want. Because you don't want the guy to be an art robot.
Yeah.
You don't want him, I must draw the story exactly the way Dan says. It's like, I'm sure you love Alan Moore. Everyone loves Alan Moore.
I admit I do.
I've seen you on YouTube going, Alan Moore! Oh my God, Watchmen! Woo! Watch your YouTubes, they're great.
Thanks. Thanks for the shout out.
But when you see an Alan Moore script, like I was working with an artist once, and we worked on a project, and we loved working on it, and we got all these accolades from it, and then all these offers started showing up to both of us. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And we'd be talking on the phone like, what are they offering you? Oh, they're giving me this. And at one point he goes, oh, they want me to work on an Alan Moore story. I get to draw an Alan Moore story. I'm like, that's great, name of friend. Have you seen the script? He's like, no. Wait till you see the script. Because when you read an Alan Moore script, it's like, it's a phone book for one comic. They are the scariest scripts. They are telling you what the reflection of the person should look like in the raindrop. It's falling. You're like, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they really are these meticulously planned out things. And I just know if I was an artist, that would scare the heck out of me. I'd want someone, I'd want someone to say, and then this panel, Spider-Man fights Iron Patriot. Do you want him to kick him in the head or punch him in the face or swing into him or whatever you want? He could shoot webs, have fun, unless it's an integral part of the story.
Right.
Like in the list, there's a clever way Spider-Man defeats Iron Patriot. That is meticulously choreographed out in the script because that builds to it. But there are other parts where Adam Kubert's allowed a lot of freedom to, well, I'll have Spider-Man do this, or I'll have Spider-Man do that. Or when I'm working with John Romita Jr., like in New Ways to Die, there were sequences where it's like Spider-Man beats up all of Norman Osborn's goons. And then he calls me on the phone and goes, I have this idea where he webs these pieces of like nuts and bolts on the floor and swings them around and hits people in the head with them. You okay with that? I'm like, John Romita Jr., I am ecstatic with that. Have fun. Like I'm doing some of that with Michael Lark now on Spider-Man 621, where it's a story with Black Cat and Spider-Man and Mr. Negative. And we're having a lot of back and forth on the phone where he's like, what about this? Or I'm designing this character's apartment for the first time. Do you mind if it does it? No. Show me what you got. And it's really fun. Some people want a lot of input. Some people want a lot of freedom. And that's part of working on a comic, is that you're part of that team. And if you can't be a team player, this is not the job for you.
I completely understand that. I have a lot of friends who do commission work, and their favorite kind of commissioners are the ones that just say, do this, just draw it, and take whatever liberty you want. And it's fun, because you get to put in whatever you feel.
Sometimes you feel a bit like a tyrant when you're asking for a very specific thing. And sometimes when you're asking for a very specific thing and you don't get it, you're like, what's the matter? And you just got to let that go. On the flip side, I have worked with guys where they've done stuff to a story where I talk to the editor, I talk to the artist. I'm like, what are they doing? One guy I was working with was rearranging the order of the scenes, and that was driving me crazy. I'm like, no, there's a logic to this story. This happens, and this happens, and this happens. And he's like, yeah, but I want to draw this scene first, or I think this is the money scene, so I'm moving it to the front of the book. Because I was talking to him on the phone once, and he was telling me that. He was saying, oh, I have to draw this scene now. I'm like, you're that far into the book? That's like in the middle. That's great. He's like, no, I moved it to the front. And I was like, you can't do that, because this character reacts to this before that ever happens. He said, no, I never thought of that. Well, you'll work it out. I'm like, no. So as long as you're writing in the right order, I think that's my breaking point.
Yeah.
So I'm a prima donna.